afternoon to you. Welcome to the Midday News right here on 3FM 92.7. We come to you live from our studios here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra and our numerous affiliates across the country, also live on all our social media platforms. Coming up this afternoon, with the Ghana cedi rated by Bloomberg as the best performing currency in the world, we'll find out if the cedi rise is a 9-day wonder or due to prudent economic measures, and why that is yet to reflect in the prices of goods and services.
Dollar now about from no affect the sellers and the buyers.
We hope the dollar would depreciate further to boost trade.
Because I'm on for part in the
Also this afternoon, school feeding caterers in Ashanti region up in arms against termination of their contracts. Plus, Road Safety Authority to hold crucial talks with assemblies as 21-day removal deadline looms. We have details of these and many more stories coming up shortly. Please do stick and stay. My name is Judith Brown. Welcome to the bulletin. We start from here. The naming of Ghana cedi by Bloomberg as the world's best performing currency appears to have given the business community some confidence. While the cedi this month appreciated by 16% against the US dollar since the start of April 2025 per Bloomberg, the currency's rally has helped ease inflationary pressures, including or contributing to Ghana's lowest inflation rate in 8 months. Consumer price inflation fell to 21.2% in April, down from 22.4% in March. Government statistician Al-Hassan Idrisu announced in Accra on Wednesday. While monthly price increases slowed to 0.8%, driven largely by falling import costs due to the cedi's strength. Bloomberg data showed that since the beginning of April, the cedi has outpaced all global currencies in terms of gains against the US dollar, bolstering consumer confidence and easing pressure on the cost of imported goods. Despite this progress, analysts say it's unlikely that the Bank of Ghana will rush to lower interest rates at the upcoming policy meeting. Well, a lot of people are excited about the cedi's its performance on the forex market, including the Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, Alban Sumana Babin. A while ago, he took to Facebook and he posted, and this is what he said: "Leadership is sacred. It is a big relief as the Ghanaian cedi is surging in value against almost all other currencies in the world and becoming competitive again. With this, Ghana's economy can be favorite investment destination. It is refreshing that cross-border traders are already saving on the upward surge in the value. For the first time in a while, or in a long while, traders have room to review the prices of their goods and services downward, and people are more willing to invoice and receive payments in cedis. This, coupled with competitive tendencies, will make the gains in the cedi soon reflect on general prices of goods and services for the benefit of all Ghanaians." That is what was posted on the Facebook account of the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Sumana Kingsford Babing, just a while ago. We're going to stay on this because traders at Aboso Kang have indicated that it will take at least 3 months for the cedi's appreciation against the dollar to reflect in the cost of items. Recent gains made by the local currency have sparked hope among some business owners who are looking forward to its long-term impact. Christian Yali reports.
As of Thursday, May 8th, a dollar was buying at 13 cedis 20 pesos and selling at 13 cedis 30 pesos, according to the Bank of Ghana. Despite the cedi's appreciation, prices of goods on the local market remain unchanged.
So far, so good. Like, it's really helping us.
Traders say they expect to recoup some of their lost capital, adding that this will lessen the high cost of living in the country.
With the appreciation of the cedi against the dollar, we can purchase more at a lesser cost.
Dollar now about from no affect the sellers and the buyers.
We hope the dollar would depreciate further to boost trade.
Because I'm on for part in the
Ajewa had just received her consignment at the time of our visit. Like others, the downward trend of the dollar and other trading currencies is a huge relief. But she attributes the city's gain against the dollar to the ongoing tariff war U.S. President Donald Trump has waged against global economies.
Me pesa me clear ma obiati asese because of NDC ntina ama dollar no ayeden aba form no.
NDC should not think they caused the dollar to fall. Trump's trade war is a major factor.
Aba form die ba still ni ye shake kakra.
This is Abosiokai, Ghana's largest automobile spare parts market. Here the traders have welcomed the fall of the dollar against the city, but they want the Bank of Ghana to work around the interest rate, for instance, and also grant them more access to capital to undertake their business.
When the policy is high, technically it's going to affect the banks. When they reduce their power, they adjust their policy rates. Technically, the banks are going to reduce their interest rates. We want the Bank of Ghana to come out to tell us their policy rates so that they can tax the interbanks. That's when, and access to credit.
Techiado observed that the impact of the current exchange rate may not be felt immediately.
We are trying hard to talk to our members to reduce some of their components. And it will take at least 2 or 3 months before this reduction will take effect. Because some of us have already ordered our goods. At that time, we bought $16 cedis at that time. So now dollar is 13 cedis. Nobody should expect that the other 13 cedis will automatically need to reduce our goods and say no.
It is expected that some relief would be experienced soon if the city and other fiscal conditions remain or even improve. Until then, some business owners like Ajewa and members of the public would celebrate the gains with caution.
And that was a report by Christian Yale, who was at the Abosiokai market. He had been speaking to traders there on the city's appreciation against the dollar and how really that will affect the cost of items in the coming months. Let's speak to Julius Jima, the Executive Director for the Center for Economic and Financial Analysis. Good afternoon, sir. Should we throw roses to the government yet? Because we would recall that in February 2020, Bloomberg rated Ghana City as the best performing in the world, but I mean in the coming years we've seen the opposite.
Good afternoon, Judith. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon to your viewers and your listeners. I think that it's news that is welcoming for us, especially in Ghana and the business community, because the dollar has one of the things that we've been battling for long, and when our city is appreciating, it means that it's good news for us, and we have every cause to enjoy. But these are short term. Let's state it for a fact that these are short term. Something is happening on the international trade market, and that is accounting to what is happening, globally, why the US dollar is, dropping. And as a result, here in Ghana, we are also taking advantage. This trade tariff that the US have gone through with other major trading partners, especially China. Let me just put some background to it.
Right.
The U.S. has accumulated about 36 trillion in debt. And then also in terms of their revenue, they spend 6 trillion and collect 4 trillion. So making a deficit of 2 trillion every year. And this has increased their total public debt to 38 trillion, just as we narrate, just like Ghana. And then again, Trump announced a major economic policy, very bold one, of course, dialogue. The reason why the U.S. government or economy is going through all this stress is that we are borrowing too much. And then who are the major stakeholders controlling or investing or buying U.S. debt? China. So China has been buying the U.S. debt.
Right.
Now, what Trump is doing is that he just wants to reverse all these things and then move businesses back to the United States. Now, China will retaliate. Of course, they have. That's why we realize there's reverse reciprocal in this tariff. Yes, other countries will also retaliate. But the end result is that the U.S. will win back. The U.S. dollar will bounce back again. The simple reason is that the U.S. is the #1 customer of the world. In fact, they import about $3 trillion every year across the world. So once the U.S. is in the market doing business, you should know that they are the movers and shakers of the international economy. And that is why there's a bloc like BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, and China want to come together. So on the international stage, these things are happening. Now, this reversal of tariffs that, is happening, in the long term is going to increase, revenue for the U.S. government. And then it's going to increase about $2 trillion for the U.S. government. So at the moment, yes, China is retaliating big time. The reason why we are getting the drop of the U.S. dollar and our city appreciating is that China is also the number one manufacturer powerhouse for the world, whereas the U.S. is the customer. So in the end, one produces, one consumes. So U.S. gives more money. And now this is what is happening.
But you mentioned, Mr. Jima, you mentioned that you are seeing that the dollar might rise again. So are you trying to say that this appreciation of the city might be short-lived?
Yes. Yes, because if you look at the things that are happening to our economy, all the decisions that we've been taking are short-term decisions. Number one, there's, all these exchange rates is based on demand and supply, and then the supply of dollars in the system. We can record that there's an influx of the IMF money. Let's not forget that we are the IMF, and they've been, supporting the economy with some dollars. If you look at the Bank of Ghana, currently our reserves have also gone up. In fact, our gold reserves have increased, and it has also affected our gold export. So major commodities that gives us dollar in the country. Let's not also forget cocoa. But at the moment, production is very low, so we are not getting the net amount of money that will cushion our currency. Apart from that, if you look at the import side, that is why the businessmen are taking advantage.
Right.
So because China is retaliating in the tariff, it means that demand and supply, they are not giving the goods that they have to supply to the U.S. economy. And when that comes, prices are dropping. And then let's also not forget that China came back and has told the world that the prices of goods and services that we see around, the luxury brands that is affecting the global economy, that we buy more. Production costs, total production costs in China is very small. So now when businesses are importing, they don't need so many dollars to be able to bring their goods back to other countries that are buying from China. And that is the windfall that we are taking advantage. So it is good for the business community now, but it will be short-lived because we haven't put in place the structural effort to be able to turn some of the challenges that is affecting our international market when it comes to the exchange rate. Let's also not forget that the businesses of the black market are also there. So at the moment, BOG has the dollars. Our reserves are marginally increasing, which is good. So now we're able to meet the demand. And then if you look at our economy, it's a seasonal. At this time, people are not importing more. There's also capital flight. But it is even interesting the more that during the period of April, that is where multinationals try to repatriate part of their profit back to, their parent companies outside the country. And when they do that, they do with dollars. But it's not interesting that just around April and then May, so the city is appreciating marginally.
Mr. Jima,
it is,
right.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, really, you've talked about a lot of international factors, the U.S. as well as China. But would you say that there's also a mix of maybe the country's good policy interventions as well as international factors, or you'd say it's just accounting to international factors? If so, what really should be done to sustain that gain by the city?
Exactly. If we look at the direction of the finance minister, and then coming from the budget perspective, one of the things that the minister announced is to cut expenditure. These are on our side, the local policies and the measures. And the reason I'm saying that they are all short-term. It will not be able to leave us to maybe 2 or 3 years to be able to give us this, sustainability of our city. There is a budget cut, which is good for us. At the moment, the minister is not paying payables in terms of debt that has accrued to central government. There's also this restructuring going on. We are not in the woods. We have not fully paid our external debtors because at the time that we even accrued those loans, the exchange rate was higher. So, this is the time for us to even pay all these things. The moment the minister decides to now pay contractors pay our external debtors fully, and then our IPP, let's not forget the energy sector, the debt that has accumulated in the energy sector. The moment we change policy to start making payments, all these payments will affect our currency. So the news that is going on around, yes, there are local policies that is contributing, but that is very few. The major chunk of it is that what is happening on the international trade market that is affecting the US dollar. But what we can learn from what is going on is to take advantage of this windfall and then make sure that the minister is doing well. Yesterday, I realized that they have met with Food and Beverages Association, trying to force them to reduce prices for us so that at the end of the day, we can have a robust policy for the long term.
Well, many thanks for your time. Julius Jima is the Executive Director for the Center for Economic and Financial Analysis. He's been talking about that appreciation of the city currently. We're going to go on a first break. When we're back, we do more stories. Please stay with us.
Hello, Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba, a freezer. Adama, a craftsmanship. Adama, Metamosua, my sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia. I do for Nobium Unum and San last night. I don't know what we did. Adama for you from what we say. Yet, you drew back up a bit we be a high technology. I go for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the bus here, if we be any of us, you, equity self, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman shown task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, Umpa went up a day. Freezer, Dacia, a person does so among. I'm one yaji. To me, me was sick. To me, but you may not do some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no, Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream or baby bear a tongue cry on you. I say Kayona Kenkai in Choya a dream.
Welcome back. You're still listening to the Midday News right here on 3FM 92.7. Let's do some more stories. And the Ashanti Regional Caterers are under the school feeding program have described termination of their contract as insensitive and illegal. The Ghana School Feeding Program early this month announced a nationwide termination of all contracts with caterers under the program, citing ongoing restructuring aimed at improving efficiency. However, the affected caterers want the government to reconsider its decision by respecting existing agreements entered into under the previous management. William Evans Inkum is our Northern Bureau Chief. He has been monitoring this development and he joins us with more details on this. William, the contract termination was announced prior to reopening of schools. Why are they raising issues now?
Well, so Judith, they are claiming that prior to the termination, they had been given some level of assurance that they could still provide service until the third academic term before any termination or whatsoever will be effected. So most of them had purchased full staff spanning to that particular period, only to be told that their contracts have been abrogated. Now, what they are saying is that already they've incurred some cost, and they're asking that question pertaining to who will be held responsible as far as their purchasing is concerned. So that's their main concern now, Judith.
Right, and William, we understand that some of the caterers have called on the overlord of the Asante state to intervene. Is there any indication if the monarch will act on their request?
Well, absolutely. But what hasn't happened is they going and then officially presenting their petition to the Santehe. I mean, yesterday was Awuku there, but they were not there. We are not sure whether they are going to do that tomorrow, but it looks like there's a possibility of an escalation to the overlord of the Asante Kingdom.
Right, and so Giftia Samoa is the Ashanti Regional President of the School Feeding Caterers. She has been speaking. Let's listen.
We are caterers contracted under the Ghana National School Feeding Program. We are legally bound to provide meals for school children as enshrined in the contractual agreement. For years, we have delivered although, and as you are aware, there have been moments of payment delays resulting in standoff with the government. Nonetheless, we have remained resolute during the transitional period. The new government engaged us and there was an agreement to provide service until third term academic term. Based on the earlier agreement, purchased foodstuffs cater for the agreed period, only to be told that the contract has been terminated. We are by this medium reminding the School Feeding Secretariat and the Ministry of Gender and Social Protection to respect our earlier agreement or refund costs caterers have already incurred in purchasing foodstuffs for the third term academic year, as almost of us secured loans to purchase these foodstuffs.
Well, Giftia Samoa is the Ashanti Regional President of the School Feeding Caterers. We're going to do some more stories and we're going to head now to the northern region because some disgruntled youth of Bole in the Savannah region have taken to the streets to burn lorry tires in their bid to register their displeasure over the nomination of Abdullahi Mahmoud as the municipal chief executive for Bole. Now, this is the second time the youth have taken to the streets to protest the president's nominee. Now, the confirmation of the president's nominee, which was scheduled to take place on Wednesday, May 7, has since been postponed indefinitely to allow for an engagement with the youth. My colleague Christopher Mwako is following the development in Bole and joins us live with more details on this. Chris, tell us really what are the concerns of the youth against the president's nominee?
Okay, so this demonstration is by the Arise Bole Youth Group. They believe that the nominee over the past has used some derogatory language on the king and overlord of the Bole traditional area. He's also made some social media posts about some happenings in the Bole area that they feel he shouldn't have. And the last one is that they believe that he didn't participate in any of the issues that led to the NDC winning power in the Bole district. And so they do not recognize him, they don't know him. They believe that the president should make another choice out of the 4 people that qualify to go to the national for the vetting. And so as it stands now, the agitations continue in the Bole community, even though the relevant stakeholders are trying their possible best to restore calm amongst the youth.
Well, and if you're on our social media platforms on Facebook, you see some of the visuals of the residents who have been protesting there, burning car tires and all that. But Chris, you're still with us. What has been the reaction of the stakeholders?
Yes, so you know that the elected representative of the Council of State for the Savannah region is from the Bole area. He is the Tingaura, the member of parliament for the area who doubles as the deputy minister for lands and natural resources, is also from the Bole area. And other government appointees are also in talks with the youth and the paramount chief of the Bole traditional area so that there could be some calm for the processes to continue. They believe that if the youth don't want him, they should rather lobby the assembly members so that when he goes for confirmation and they fail to confirm him, then it means that the people of Bole are against him. If not, they should allow him to go through the process.
Right, many thanks for your time. Christopher Amwako is a Northern Regional correspondent. He's been bringing us all the details as regards to some disgruntled youth of Bole in the Savannah region. Now let's head to Parliament because the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education has expressed concern about the large numbers of students in some second cycle institutions in the country. The committee, after a tour of some schools in the Volta region, says it has observed a worrying trend of overpopulation in the schools, putting a strain on the existing infrastructure and staff. Chairman of the committee and member of parliament for the Akachi North constituency, Peter Nochukotoi, wants the Ministry of Education to take urgent steps to address the situation.
Lack of classrooms, facilities, dormitories, furniture. These are the major challenges facing the double track schools as well as the single track schools. So we will recommend to the Ministry of Education, especially the minister, to as quickly as possible address these issues. We've also discovered that we cannot phase out all the double track institutions at a go. So we'll advise him to stagger it so that he should target a number for this year and remove them from the double track next year. So within the next 3 years, the Ministry of Education should be able to do away with the double track. And we are also concerned about the large numbers in the schools. Some schools have over 5,000 students, some about 4,900, almost 5,000, and above 3,000. We discovered that the numbers are too huge for management. And we will also recommend that facilities are provided in less endowed schools so they can also absorb many of the students who could have gone there to have their secondary education.
Now, in some more stories, Managing Director of the National Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaliba, has announced plans to engage the Metropolitan and Municipal Assemblies ahead of a 21-day deadline to remove all illegal billboards from across streets. In an interview, he warned that failure to comply after official notice would result in legal action against the assemblies. The move follows public outcry of billboards obstructing visibility, especially near footbridges, posing risks to pedestrians and drivers. Amaliba emphasized that the initiative aims to curb across rising road accidents rates by improving safety.
We are meeting the district assemblies. I've written a letter to the local government minister, and that would ensure that all the 29 district assemblies in the Greater Accra region will be met at a meeting. Now, we want to meet them before the deadline of the 21 days. Don't forget that we'll give them 21 days. So at that meeting, we would stress the need for them. And it's not all billboards. We are talking about illegal billboards. There are specifications for billboards. Those that are beyond the specifications are the ones we are talking about. So if you see some billboards, it doesn't mean that they are the ones we are talking about. But we are talking about the illegal billboards. And that is why we are calling them for a meeting sometime next week. If they do not, we can issue them with compliance notices. If they fail to abide by the compliance notices, then we sue them in court.
And before we go, let's talk about illegal mining, because despite renewed government efforts to combat the menace, particularly in forest reserves and water bodies, the destructive practice continues to spread unchecked. In this latest incident, hundreds of trees in the Adoberua section of the Jumra Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region have been illegally cleared within weeks. Forestry officials warn that the alarming scale of destruction is undermining national efforts to protect Ghana's ecosystems. Ibrahim Abubakar has more in this report.
So behind me lies the Jumeirah Forest Reserve, specifically compartment 28 and 29. Once a thriving ecosystem, this portion of the forest is under siege by illegal miners. This is just one of the many forest reserves across Ghana where Galamsey operations have stripped the land bare, poisoned water bodies, and displaced wildlife. Hundreds of Cinderella trees, a vital part of the forest biodiversity, have been felled by illegal miners, locally known as galamseyers, to make way for their operations. The Nkawie Forest District Manager, Abraham Esel, admits that despite their efforts, illegal miners continue to outmaneuver authorities.
The destruction of the plantation and the whole forest ecosystem has lost its resilience and health. And so the activities of the illegal miners is greatly impacting on the sustainable forest management practices that we do. It has now gone beyond forestry. It has become a security matter because you, as a forest officer, you come to the field, you don't have even a catapult to protect yourself. But these illegal miners are protected by heavily built and weapon-wielding thugs. And so assessing this place has become very difficult without the assistance.
Well, that's our wrap up the midday news right here on 3FM 92.7. A pleasure coming to you always. My name is Judith Brown. Do stay tuned. Business News is up next.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up, Ghana tops West Africa in debt rise as Africa's public borrowing hits alarming levels. We'll bring you details of latest Africa Economic Outlook by Bridgewater Advisors. Also, policy research and consumer advocacy organization CATS International demands urgent overhaul of Ghana's public sector recruitment system, citing widespread politicization, lack of transparency, and weak meritocracy.
Since we do not have regulatory framework for recruitment into the public sector, any political party that comes into office would abuse the processes and put their people there.
Plus, government targets lower borrowing amounting to 5.38 billion cedis amid declining treasury bills. We'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Africa's debt sustainability is under severe threat, with Ghana recording a staggering $6 billion debt increase in 2024 alone, the highest in West Africa. This is according to Bridgewater Advisors, which warns in its Africa Economic Outlook that the continent's public debt has surged by 170% since 2010, raising fresh concerns about the future of economic stability across West Africa. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more. Ghana is emerging as one of the continent's major debt hotspots, having added $6 billion to its debt stock in 2024, the highest nominal increase in West Africa. Thus, part of a broader trend outlined in the latest Africa Economic Outlook by Bridgewater Advisors, which reveals Africa's public debt has skyrocketed by 170% since 2010, far outpacing the global average of 54%. Bridgewater blames the ballooning debt on the effects of global crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic, geopolitical tensions, and recent currency depreciations that have worsened repayment burdens. The firm also highlights the inadequacy of the global financial system in supporting Africa with affordable liquidity. To help curb future crises, African leaders have launched a $20 billion African Financial Stability Mechanism hosted by the African Development Bank. The fund aims to offer concessional loans to reform-committed countries and could save the continent about $20 billion by 2035. Still, analysts stress that the fund alone won't fix the problem. Ghana and others must double down on sound macroeconomic policies, stronger fiscal discipline, and domestic revenue mobilization to achieve long-term debt sustainability. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, policy research and customer advocacy organization CATS International is calling for urgent and sweeping reforms to Ghana's public sector recruitment system, citing pervasive opacity, politicization, and lack of meritocracy. West Africa Regional Director of CATS International, Apia Kusi Adomako, highlighted the structural flaws in the country's recruitment practices, describing the current system as a game of political and social connections rather than merit. According to him, although recruitment into ministries, departments, and agencies, MDAs, is expected to open, competitive, and transparent, the reality is far from this ideal.
If you ask any Ghanaian graduate where to find job vacancies for major public institutions like Bank of Ghana, National Petroleum Authority, SNATE, or GMPC, or any other institutions, I'm not sure they'll be able to tell you that, give you any meaningful response, because these institutions and other public agencies, they recruit all the time, but yet there is no publicized recruitment. And I've never seen any recruitment advert for these institutions. But yet government institutions recruit people all the time. And so it has become more like protocol list or influential figure. Even for some institutions, your chances of getting there depend if your father has worked there. This is not a matter of NDC or MPP. Since we do not have regulatory framework for recruitment into the public sector, any political party that comes into office would abuse the processes and put their people there.
And that was West Africa Regional Director of CATS International, Apia Kusi Adomako. Now, government is aiming to raise 5.3 billion cedis in today's Treasury auction, a decrease from the 6.32 billion cedis targeted in the previous week. This adjustment in the borrowing target comes as yields on government securities continue to trend downwards, averaging 15.98%. There is more in the following 3 Business News Desk report.
The declining yields suggest a potential shift in market sentiment or liquidity conditions. However, analysts indicate that the government is likely to persist with a strategy of relying heavily on short-term borrowing instruments to address immediate domestic liquidity requirements. According to market watchers, investor appetite for longer-dated government bonds remains subdued. This preference for shorter tenors could be attributed to various factors, including prevailing macroeconomic uncertainties, inflation expectations, and investors seeking more flexibility in their portfolios. Government's continued focus on short-term borrowing while addressing immediate cash flow needs carries potential implication for the country's debt profile and future refinancing risk. Government aims to raise 5.38 billion cedis today, lower than last week's target of 6.23 billion cedis, as yields continue to decline, averaging 15.98%. The average yield of 15.98% reflects the current cost of borrowing for government across the various tenors that will be offered in today's auction. The outcome of today's auction will provide further insights into the prevailing market demand for government securities and government's ability to meet its revised borrowing targets.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report on government targeting lower borrowing amount of 5.38 billion cedis amid declining treasury bill yields. Now, the Deputy Chief Executive of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Prince Henry Ankra, is calling for collaboration between all stakeholders within the shipping and haulage industry to address perennial challenges affecting cargo handling and transportation along Ghana's transit routes. With Ghana serving as a vital transit corridor for landlocked neighbors, generating over $34 million annually, he emphasized the need for efficient transit routes to sustain economic benefits. He spoke on behalf of the Chief Executive at the sensitization workshop for truck drivers in Tema.
Ghana's transit trade is beset with myriads of challenges that threaten to erode the gains made over time as the preferred corridor in the sub-region. Transit operators have reported issues such as high charges by service providers, incessant port delays, high haulage costs, numerous checkpoints, deplorable road track conditions, lack of rest stops, and other non-tariff barriers. The solutions to the above challenges require nothing less than the collective efforts of all stakeholders in the transit ecosystem. Government, on its part, has enacted facilitation of transit trade in the Ghana Shippers Authority Act 2024, Act 112, to strengthen the authority's arm in streamlining processes of service providers and stakeholders for the benefit of all players in the industry.
And that was Deputy Chief Executive in charge of operations at the Ghana Shippers Authority, Prince Henry Ankra, bringing the end to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Urban Blend is next with Black Rasta. Please stay.